Continue.
I am going to welcome you to our first in-person users group meeting, as well as those of you online. I am filling in for our official chair until she returns from another appointment. So I call the meeting to order at 1:04 p.m. for the note taker. We will review and adopt the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, does someone want to make an motion to approve the agenda as presented? Thank you, Barb. Will someone second the agenda? Thank you, John. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye. All right, opposed, same sign. Okay.
We'll give it a minute for those out on chat if anyone would like to vote. The ayes are rolling in.
Okay. Shall we move on to review and approval of the minutes of the previous meeting? Okay. Are there any corrections or changes to minutes from the previous meeting? Just have those in your packet. None. Can I take a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting? Thank you, Beth. Second. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, now my other hat as the board president for the RSA board of directors. That report, we met this morning in person. And we approved things that will be discussed later in the meeting. How's that for things? The board of directors approved the revised processing policy, the standardized material item types, and the standardized new length. And we also approved changes to cataloging workflow, standing temp records, as well as OCL next to basic online members, and we'll hear all about that later in the day after meetings. All right. We'll now move on to committee reports, which were notes. Is there any discussion of those notes? Do you want to say something about RSA Day?
That's, I think, a little farther down.
Okay.
People are having a hard time hearing, so those of us in the room, the louder we can talk, the better.
Challenge accepted.
Pretend I'm 3 and yell at me.
We are looking at committee reports. Unless there's discussion of those, we'll move on to the users group written package. Are there questions?
I don't have a slide for that.
Okay.
A lot of those things we'll get to later as well.
All right. So are we at item number 5, special recognition?
We are.
All right. We're at item number 5, special recognition.
So would like to say thank you to Barbara Love, who was a 4-year users group chair, our past users group chair. She is going to be retiring July. I wasn't sure if it was next month or July. In July, as you can see on the election, we are going to be filling her chair on the board. But we have had very few users group chairs in our history, and Barbara was one for 4 years. She was on our board of directors, our independence committee back in 2009, 2010. Prior to that, when we were trying to migrate to a new system on those committees. Previous to that, you know, you've been here longer than I have. So thank you very much for all of your help and assistance over the years and for leading this august body here. So we thank you. I just wanted to put that out since this is your last official meeting.
All right. Election 2022. There will be an election ballot next week. If you would like to there's still time if you want to be part of this illustrious group. Please, by close of business on May 13th, sign up to be a part of RSA. We have fun. It's real fun.
If you want to volunteer, please email Cheryl Harlow at Brimfield. The election will be run online, directors and director designee if the director doesn't want to vote. It's 1 vote per library. It will be an online election, and I'll post the results, well, after the 20th, because I will be on the road on the 20th, so that next week.
All right, an ADML update by Kendall.
Yes, so the ADML contract expires in June this year. We've been with ADML. We've been with Overdrive, so it's the Overdrive contract. RSA took over that contract when the system merger happened. I have not renegotiated it for a while, so this year I decided, you know what, I want to see if I can get some more money for content. So I started negotiating about 2 months ago, and I got them to agree to cut the $18,000 a year we pay in hosting fees down to $8,000 a year, assuming we invest that $10,000 back into content. Okay, that's what we were trying to do in the first place. There is a little bump in the road, and that's kind of contingent on the fact that we're spending the same amount of money year over year, right? Well, the census numbers came out, and pretty much everybody's census numbers went down, which would mean that we would then not be spending the same amount of money if we just refigure the census. So the other thing that I've heard from many libraries is that the census numbers are a little fishy. So the ADML selection committee, which is the de facto governing group of ADML, we're going to meet next week to see what we want to propose to the membership to do about this, because we would like to have the extra $10,000 to spend in content, along with at least the amount of money that we're currently spending on content. That would be a nice, you know, what, $900, $800 more a month, which is a nice little bump up in content. So basically, if you're an ADML member, expect to see some email coming out next week, maybe late next week, about this. Oh, and I don't have my video on. What a poor host. Let me turn my video on. Oh, maybe I don't want to have my video on. All right. So for those of you that just got scared online, I'm very sorry.
Okay, we will now move on to the cataloging department. Erica, take it away.
Hi everyone, I'm hoping I'm talking loud enough, but let me know if I'm not. The first thing I wanted to do is just ask if there were any questions about the written report. A couple things I wanted to be sure and mention. We are doing in just under 2 weeks the OCLC holdings reset. You might have seen this offer from the state library or OCLC. So that's coming up in, like I said, about 2 weeks. So look on the listserv as we get closer to then. The other thing I wanted to mention, the plan has somewhat changed since I put it in the the meeting packet. But essentially, we're trying to help you get items into your patrons' hands faster. So that's why we're trying to rework what we're doing in cataloging. And we actually are going to be taking down the cataloging request forms effective July 1st. And everything will be put on a brief record. And then RSA will be working through our backlog and then placing holds on items when we actually are in a position to catalog it on a full OCL record. So we're trying to make it simpler for you, no more cataloging requests, and we're trying to let you get the items out to your patrons faster rather than them getting stuck at our office. The other piece of this, and this is mentioned in the packet, but it's worth mentioning here. Again, we're trying to figure out how to get those items out faster. So we are opening up the OCL connection training to basic online libraries. Seeing if there's interest among those loading OCLC records into workflows, if there's not already a matching bibliographic record. So those are the two big key changes coming. We're hoping for the takedown, like I said, of the cataloging request forms July 1st. And then if I can get things moving ahead fast enough, for June, I'll open it to the basic online for the connection training, but if not June, definitely August. I don't have a date yet for the August BitLoad workshop, but the BitLoad workshop is June 15th, and that involves using the connection through OCLC to get records for work. That's it. Yep. Any questions? What should I forget?
I don't think you forgot anything. So Anita asks, did Erica just say things we put on a brief record to get things out faster? Yes. So essentially what will happen is rather than you get an item that's not in our catalog, and you fill out the cataloging request form, then you take pictures or you send us the item. If there is no existing temp record for that same title, author, ISBN in the system, you will make one. That's what we'll be doing in next month, is setting that up in the system. And then you will add your item to that temp record. And then that brief temp record will sit in the system. Other people can attach to it. Patrons can find it. You can immediately circulate your materials. And then as we go back through in the future, any of the OCLC cataloging libraries that bring in a matching OCLC record, it'll overwrite that temp record, and then that temp record will be a fuller record. Or RSA staff will put a hold on something or ask up one library that's attached to the temp record to send us images of the file so that we can finish the cataloging. Basically, we want to save you time. We want to cut down the backload processing time. And the way things work now, we might get 5, 6, 7 requests for the same record, and that will get cut down as well. So basically, the item gets out to your patrons faster and everybody does a little bit less work. Win-win.
All right. Are we ready to move on to member services?
I think that we are.
All right.
That would be Anna. Were you paying attention?
Yeah. Yeah, there are any questions about the package documents that we contributed. Mostly, I mean, most of my stuff is the stuff about reciprocity policy. In-depth later meeting. We did create the documentation, which is all in the user group packet. Some info about user profiles that needing to be updated for a while, and several members of my team created some really helpful, kind of explainers for some of the weird, I need to set up an internal use profile. Here's a big explainer of all the different types of user profiles that are commonly used, that's sort of what they need. So Sarah created something that's kind of not just a massive spreadsheet, but kind of a plain English explanation of what we do. And Patty wrote up some nice cheat sheets about parts for keys and parts for dash and how they're set up like that. at least information that was current as of the time of their creation as far as where it's, so, but, those are kind of the big things, that we had. So, okay, so the vote is under this section of. So I will, read it. RSA survey results.
There you go.
It's hard to control. But, okay, so this is just kind of the little, embedded job form survey, tracking tool. So, but overall, we felt like the feedback we got from the RSA survey was pretty positive, especially with the, grading audit curve for the fact that we had done this in a few years and it kind of forgot what we were doing. So, and the fact that it was at a new venue for the first time. So overall, we did ask for, this was just the did you comment on question, but overall, the keynote was favorably received. Most of the breakouts, the largest, that green line is I didn't attend that particular session. So, but once you ignore that, most everything else, and purple were the largest response, which was both excellent or good. So seems like overall the breakout sessions were relatively well received. People seem to be okay with the length of things. No one hated lunch. Okay. Most people would come back. Of course, others to, encourage others to attend. But we got some nice, full text responses, which I will not hurt you by reading them all aloud, but we will get this into a nice format and post it to the website at some point. So if you want to read your cohort's responses in greater depth. Most of it was, some logistical things, getting out at the same time as Washington Expo was down. People would like lobby, good notes for the future of things to take photos. So especially if we continue. So and then we had some session ideas and things of that nature. So we appreciate everyone taking the time to reply to that survey and share their thoughts. Basically, and we very much appreciate everyone coming. And if you didn't come, we appreciate it. We're just full of appreciation. Okay, so we've been discussing the reciprocity policy for it feels like ages. Based on feedback from the board and discussions in user group, this is the draft which we have come up with in policy subcommittee. It has been reviewed in circulation committee and forwarded onward, and the board saw it and voted on it this morning. So now it is the turn. Hopefully everyone has had ample chance to review this and everyone knows whether or not it was a designated voter for your library and is prepared to vote. But I guess we will now entertain a discussion of the policy. This is not meant to be the be-all, end-all instructional document. Any procedural notes and things like that will be, shared separately. That way, if there's a workload update that changes which button you click, we don't have to revise the whole policy. We can just provide that procedural document. At this point, I don't know that there will be that many, how coming about this. Maybe something about the stateful level, things like that. But for the most part, basically, we encourage everyone to share as many of their items as possible. We want you to have whole rules that actively reflect for sharing policies. If you have a whole rule that excludes an item type or a circle that is checkout, then this is the only part where we get into some nuts and bolts. Holds and RSA cap will allow holds, but workflows will allow library staff or leaving and placing holds that don't meet those criteria. So we did add a line that saying that member libraries are responsible for training staff to place group or library on those items. You know, we expect you to be aware of your own library's restrictions and when placing holds. And if you have restrictions, it is incumbent on you to inform your own patrons of your own library's restrictions. Not to expect other libraries to memorize your restrictions. And then the last part, this was something that seemed to come more from sending libraries than receiving libraries, which kind of surprised me, but kind of considers that if we have sent you something, it is because we are okay with you many patrons having it. Please keep it and give it to your patron and send it back to the library. So that is probably the biggest, the most direct, I guess, change from the previous policy, because it did explicitly say you receive something. So discuss that will, and whoever decides that discussion doesn't come along enough. We could discuss it more about.
Are there any questions online, Kendall, regarding this?
No, other than, it sounds like, we're in a gymnasium.
Kind of are. High stakes.
Apparently the audio is a little painful today.
We apologize. We haven't done this in a while. Is there any discussion from anyone else in the room who wasn't on the board this morning?
I would like to comment. I think this change, this that we perceive to be change in that last item, really reflects well on us and finally kind of brings this policy up to the reality of where most of us are operating, where we want to share freely. So I applaud RSA in general for considering this change.
Well, I think that point too was also the reality with that a lot of libraries were keeping the items in circulating their tables, and you know, so now they don't have the person that they're not doing.
And it also brings the policy more into alignment with statements that have been made at users groups over the years about, oh, I sent you the thing, give it to your patron. So.
All right. Someone make a motion to approve the reciprocity policy. Thank you, Beth. Second? Thank you, Jack. We have a motion on the table to approve the reciprocity policy as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
If you are in the chat, please enter ayes. I guess if you're in the chat and you wish to vote nay, then I guess type your name in the chat. If you're in the room, you ayes or hand raises.
Well, we all said aye. Now we're gonna say any opposed.
Well, but if they say aye to acknowledge their opposition.
Well, we can say any opposed, say nay. Okay. How are we doing online?
It's all ayes.
Okay. Sounds like your group has approved the reciprocity.
Well, we have to ask for nays. Eight verbal nays. Well, thank you all. I'm glad to not be working on that policy.
Congress.
Okay, I will put that on a unofficial letterhead and send it out to users of the big announcement. I will just that.
Now we have general users 18 and older.
Yes, so you're done talking about the fact that I think problem. So we had begun talking about how many things would it break if we were to embark upon a cleanup project, how much of that could be conceivably automate, probably not that much really. But Kendall has some info about, how many videos are juvenile or live. Basically, we're not going to try to figure out, I know many libraries move people to adults younger than 18, at 16, or when they enter high school, or don't use YA profile at all. But
Yes, where is that?
we do find that pretty much everyone agrees that for library purposes, you're at least definitely an adult by the time you are 18, if not before. So we would like to, at the very least, clean up anyone who's over 18 and is not that much profile at their library. So.
Pardon me while I find that. I know I provided it, and now I can't find it. Which is very annoying. Sorry, those of you who are looking at the screen, I'm trying to find the. Apparently I don't have it. All right, well, I could have sworn I did. Oh, is that was that in there?
And just to answer a question from the chat, Chair's question about whether there are monthly placing goals training sessions. Now that this policy is approved, I will definitely be adding a section to those trainings about, managing the goal level that you're placing goals. Those are available monthly, pretty much up, probably maybe slightly lower than summer, but and yeah, so if you feel like your staff needs training on those, I will also do kind of a custom training to your library. We have more than 3 staff members to be training. So if you feel like there's a need for additional staff training, policy, let me know, and we can accommodate that. I'll put that in the email when I send out the.
So just to go back a bit for the Juve one, and we do have some conversation in chat about sometimes why people are on juvenile cards even though they're 18. I'm not planning on actually moving anybody without your permission, so we're not going to just do a whole group move. So, for example, if they're on a Juve card, is because they did so under a guardian, and until they prove they're an adult, then they don't get moved. Those types of things. So, I included a list in here, not to call anybody out. It's hard to call anybody out when basically everybody's on the list, but just to give you an idea, there are lots of people over 18 on juvenile cards.
You can call me out.
So, what's that? That was in 410-411. So basically, all we're trying to say is that this is a wide-standing problem. It's not a huge deal. It's been something that we wanted to get on our list of things to clean up. What's that?
But I got an automatic switch.
Somebody 114.
Yes, and the thing that I think surprised. I've had some people offline that saw their numbers and were like, we thought people were getting auto-converted when they're 18. No, they don't get auto-converted. They get manually converted. So that is part, I think, of the issue, is that we have not been reminding people that 18-year-olds or whatever age you're converting people, because I know 18 is not a great age for everybody. Some people do 15, 16 as well, move people over to adults. So that's just running the current list. And like I said, we will be working with everybody over the summer to try and do some bulk changes. If you've only got 1 or 2 and you can hunt them down, we can give you a list of IDs and that kind of thing. If you've got lots, then we'll talk and we'll help you out with those.
Question in the chat, can you explain why sport captain is an adult when they're 18? I think mostly because of certain rules that have their privileges for juvenile versus adult, and maybe for reporting.
Yes, reporting certain rules, hold rules. It's just cleaner. Even if a particular library does not circulate anything differently to juveniles and adults, and there are a lot of libraries who don't, there are a lot of libraries who do. And so somebody who's marked as a juvenile that has an area library that they visit may not be able to check things out or get different circulation rules.
Is it going to be a problem if we keep the juveniles cycling?
I don't see why not, as long as you know that they're there. I mean, that's part of the reason why we want to, before we make a move, we would send a list out and say, here are all the ones that are on the list. Do you want us to move these or not?
When we moved from 14 to 18, we talked to Phil, and he was like, no, this is the contract, we shouldn't have it at 18. So the concern is that we should automatically change off the list without getting into that, we should put out a signature. The patient has to enter into the contract.
Sure.
So I can leave it for a while.
And there are, we heard from a couple other libraries that have, well, different paperwork is, I guess, the right way to say it, or different applications, or they require signatures or whatever. So I think we have not done a good enough job of just letting people know, unless a library's asked. There are lots of libraries that say, hey, can you send me a report of everybody who's expiring next month or everybody who's turning a certain age next month. We do that for the libraries that ask, but we don't do it for everybody. And I think what we've learned is we need to do it for everybody at a minimum, and then offer to help clean up the mess.
That level of data can be shared on BCA,
Yes, all these reports are available in BCA, yeah.
Are we ready to?
Let me see.
Excuse me, I just want to say, I think from the chat is that everybody can hear Kendall, but the further we get away, I'll bet nobody on Zoom heard you. I'll bet nobody could hear it. No, that's okay. If you want, I can, when you do your question, I can type it into the chat so that for the discussions, so that everybody can get what we're talking about. I think it's just because of the acoustics.
Right there.
It's the fan in the back that's messing everything up.
So I can just, when we're having discussions, I can just kind of take the channel.
And I won't shout anymore.
The good news is basically everything else on here is me, and they can't hear me because I'm sitting right in front of a mic, so. They're super sensitive, so they're picking up the echo in the room and the AC and people talking. So it just sounds horrible. All right. Okay, so did you have anything else, Anna?
Basically a kind of a incoming cleanup project. We won't be doing anything, making bulk changes for you, so no one has, don't be surprised to get this.
Yeah, we will start sending lists out for birthdays. All right, moving on to the systems report. Probably you all saw that we tried to redo the firewall again. Here's the issue with the firewall. The firewall, so that you guys did not have to change any of the IP addresses that you use and workflows, or for any of your vendors, the hundreds of external vendors that connect to our system, we set up our firewall to do a lot of, I don't want to say non-standard, but very odd routing rules, so that you could come in on one line and then we take the IP address that you came in on, which doesn't really exist, and turn it into a different IP address, and then we send it down an encrypted channel to Cersei Dynex. We can set everything up in the firewall except the encrypted channel to Cersei Dynex and check the IP address translations. They're set up exactly the same way, it appears, but it does not work when we plug it in. So we've tried twice now, us doing it. We had somebody come in and look at the firewall and say, no, it all looks fine. So now we have basically an expert who works at a local internet company that does this for many people, who is considered a Cisco genius, who's going to be helping us out to try and figure out why we can't make this work. The only way to make it work is to put it live. And then once it's live, figure out why it's not working and make it work. But you guys are operating at the times that we can get into the facility where the firewall is, because it's in a state hosting facility. And Lord help you, if you are not offline, they will not let you in after hours, because these are state workers. So, as we all know. So, we will continue to work on the firewall until we get it replaced. We're a little annoyed too. But at least the downtime was shorter this time. We put it in, we tried it, we're like, nope, doesn't work. Let's try one or two little things. Nope, it's not working. Pull it back out. So we'll try again. We have been doing BCA training as many as 4 times a month now that Doug is back. And we will continue to run that until the classes stop filling up. There is, I think, 2 more classes in May, and at least 1, if not 2, in June. So if you were waiting for, well, we have to, this Kendall is better, but Kendall didn't move. So we'll have to wait until the room is talking.
I moved something.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I have to be muted.
What's that?
I have to be muted.
You do? Oh, okay. Where was I at? Oh yeah, we'll keep doing BCA training until you guys are not requesting it anymore. And again, that we have those new report request forms, so please use those. They're out on the website. And a reminder for schools that we have the, we can help you for schools, we can help with your patron loads, help you remove people who have graduated, help you change your homerooms. If you've got students moving between schools, we can help with that. So just send an email to the help desk and we'll work with you on those. At the beginning of the year, when you get your lists of new students out of your systems, we can work with you to help you kind of load those into the system, and then you just have to assign them the right barcodes. So a lot of that stuff we can help with. So there you go. And now we're to break time. We're going to take a break. Well, you want to do the updates and then we'll take a break? Okay. So last time we talked about this, these 3 things, we'll talk about them again real quick. We had integrated the 23 or 24 Hoopla libraries in February, March. Since then, we've got 6 new libraries that have signed up with Hoopla, and we will be integrating those libraries soon. We wait for a group of Hoopla libraries so that we can share the installation costs that Circe Dynix charges to set those up, so we can lower everybody's cost by waiting a little bit. The Cloud Source OA, which are the free online articles, those are out on the link on the website now. Let me pull up the thing here. This is package 4.12. There's the link to the demo right there. There's the 1-hour information/training session from Circe Dynix that talks about this that we have recorded. After that, we have a 20-ish page training guide from Circe Dynix that has many subjects in it, and better yet, tells you what each and every page and screen of CloudSource looks like and what it does. If we scroll down farther in that training document, it talks about doing advanced searching and some Boolean searching. And then right at the end of that, we have the Creative Commons license options. So each article is released under Creative Commons, but some Creative Commons licenses, of which there are 6, have different permission levels. So like, for instance, this one, you have to give credit to the creator. There are others that are far more permissible. So we wanted to give you all that information. Still to come, we're working on marketing materials. I just yesterday got a list of the top titles in about, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 different subject areas that are covered in CloudSource. So we'll be putting that information out as well. So we have lots and lots of CloudSource information. We can't turn this on yet, make it live in everyone's profiles because of the small, minor, insignificant problem of the fact that it completely breaks our catalog. So it works very nicely in the catalog by itself. It does not work very nicely in the catalog with the 10 years or so of modifications that we have made to the catalog. So the search tabs that you all have above your search results work in one way, and CloudSource works in a completely different way, and they are currently incompatible. So I have engineers from Cersei Dynix here in the States and one in Australia who are trying to reconcile this and fix it and make it all work better. So I don't want to turn it on to the public when it would be confusing to patrons. I want it to work nicely and just have it kind of integrate and just appear as a new tab in RSA Cat. So we're working on that, and also it gives you guys more time to play with it. So when patrons come and start asking your staff questions, you at least have had some upfront time to do searches and things like that in the catalog now. So again, that particular page looks like this. This is the link that's in the document. It's our CloudSource Open Access Testing Profile, and that is an RSA Cat page with most of the cruft taken out of it. And you can search for whatever you want. I can't spell while you're looking at me. I'll go with this because it's got a lot of results. So it's going to come back and it's going to show you the CloudSource, the physical materials first. In the regular catalog, the third hit down, if there are CloudSource results, the third hit down tells you how many there are. There are some ungodly 35,000 number, 35,000 results in CloudSource. There's a link to go to it there, or we can go up to the top on our simplified links, and there is the 35,000 global warming articles. We can search within those articles. I'll look for Arctic. Is that a word? I don't know. We'll find out. There we go. Now I'm down to 1,800 titles. This also has open educational resources. So there are full courses from instructors' notes to textbooks to tests to handouts to homework. Full classes are in here. There's all kinds of fun stuff in here. So lectures, this particular Arctic global warming, there are 5 lectures and 2 lesson plans. There's all kinds of fun stuff in here. So explore is basically what I would tell you before the public gets at it. All right. And when we get the search tabs fixed, then there will be more information coming out to you. And this would be a very good time to take a break because we're going to hit the big topic. Hi, everybody. We're just about ready to return, and our august president has come back. Chair, I will warn you that we're having audio issues, so yell. You know, if you come over here and sit, then we can share this mic. Oh, I didn't pause the recording. So, well, there we go. We'll have 5 minutes of silence on the recording. All right. It's in here, just in the general vicinity is all you need. And we are on topic 12.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here today. Thank you so much to Alyssa for being the pitch hit chair. And so we're gonna come back from break and continue on with even more discussion. That's what everyone wants. Even more discussion, this time for new material item type standards. So what would you like to share with us, Kendall? I know you have some documents.
All right. So there's document 4.9, which is what I've got on the screen now, is the one that we'll be discussing here. I wanted to real quickly give the recap of the survey that I did in February, March. I sent an email out, it's been 2 months ago now, with the answers, but the short version is that amongst all libraries that responded, and there were 86 of our 144 members responded, so we did have a very good take rate on this. For responses. For holds, 50% plus or minus 5%. And that plus or minus 5% is because I asked about books, DVDs, Blu-rays, and then all other new items. So I just combined all of those 4 questions into these answers here. But roughly half of all members allow system-wide holds on new items. And those may be marked as new items like new book or new DVD, or they may just be in the system as book or DVD. But 50% of members allow system-wide holds on new items. 36% of members are doing local holds only, and 14% are not allowing holds on new item types. That's interesting news to me in that there's a very clear delineation and it helps us set things up. Almost no libraries are purchasing multiple copies of new titles and circulating them or holding them differently. That used to be very common. That's why we have so many new item types in the system, but that practice has stopped. Again, very good to know. Let's see. Of our school libraries, 100% of our school libraries surveyed agreed that for items that are purchased and marked under the new item types, that those should be converted to standard item types after the end of that school year. Amongst public libraries, 100% agreed that things should not be cataloged on new item types that are older than 1 year. Interestingly, 58% suggested 6 months is the maximum amount of time. We had a smaller percentage that was below 6 months. We had some at 1 month, some at 3 months. We have some that answered anywhere between 7 and 10 months based on the item type. But everybody agrees that if it's a year or older, it should not be on a new item type anymore. So again, 2 great data points for us. 80% of the respondents were willing to move completely to new item types to fix the reciprocity and holds issues that we're having. 11% said no, but, and the but was, we need more information. We need to see what's going on with this. And then a solid majority of 95% essentially said, hey, if you want to take a look at all of the item types in the system, and maybe standardize those and reduce the overall number of them, we would be up for talking about that. We would be up for looking at that. That does not mean that we would be willing to do it, but we would be willing to talk about that. So I asked that question because I wanted to see if that was the follow-on project or a follow-on project for this project. And clearly it's at least something that we can talk about. So hopefully you read this before and you'll see that I put some background in there. Basically, we had so many new item types because holds and circulation are all dependent on item types, and as well as the checkout library and the user profile. And so when we had libraries who were purchasing multiple copies of the same title, and some were holdable, some were rentable, some were not holdable, some were local holds only, that right there, that's 4 different ways of holding and 4 different ways of circulation. That meant 4 different item types. Again, after a lot of research and COVID and fine free, libraries have greatly simplified the way things are being circulated in your libraries. And thankfully, only one library is really still doing that, and only for a limited number of items. So a lot of the things that we have discussed and a lot of the things that have been issues over the years have solved themselves as we have moved forward, which is great. So the bottom line of this whole thing is on this page. We are proposing the following new item types, and the board did approve this morning. We are proposing the following new item types. For book new, new book L, and new book, we need 2 different item types to cover those items. Now, 80 libraries are using those codes. There are 37,000, more than 37,000 items in the system. Those are these numbers over here. And that's 87% of our new items in the system are those 3 item types. Essentially, we need 2 item types to cover this mass of items. We need book new that is holdable system-wide, which is essentially book for most libraries, but for a lot of libraries like to have their book news on a different item type so that they either have a different checkout time or for statistical purposes, it's easier to track them. So book new holdable, and that would be for any library that's doing system-wide holds on their new books. And then book new, which is not holdable or local holds. From the system's point of view, if an item is not holdable at all, or if it's local or group hold only, i.e. only your patrons can place a hold on it, the system treats that item as the same way for both of those instances. So the same item type can cover both of those particular eventualities. So as we noted before, about half the libraries are system-wide holds. So about half of those items will be on book new holdable. And the other half do either local holds or no holds at all, and they would use the no holds or local holds item type. For DVD new, we have the same thing, a holdable version and a not holdable version. And for Blu-ray, we have a holdable new version and a not holdable new version. Those 3 item types, well, actually it's 6, but those formats, new videos, new books, this has been the problem since 2008 when we turned on holds. We have discussed this so many times over the years. We have discussed this at the last 3, if not 4 users groups. This is the fix. This will not totally fix reciprocity, but it will certainly make it much clearer, and it will help libraries and patrons get materials that they're able to access much, much better. And everyone will know, just looking at the item type, oh, this is a system-wide holdable new thing. Okay, great, thanks. Now, you'll notice the next one down is DVD J new for replacement there. That's for new DVDs. We also have a new Blu-ray J item type. We don't need a holdable and a non-holdable item type for these because there aren't enough of them in the system to make it worth the time to do it, to be quite honest. There's less than 1,000 items currently on most of these things. If you add new book and new CD together, you get almost 1,000. But again, There's not that many. These are not the problems. The problem items are the movies and the new books. So that's why we have system-wide holdable ones for those three, but no others. And of course, we have new book on CD, new playaway, and new video game. The new video game one is more of a blocker than anything else. We do have several libraries that catalog new video games and no one can check them out and or hold them, but we don't have a lot of video game item types outside of just plain old video game. So we have to add a new item type for that anyway, to make that work in the system. Things that were on the potential list or because they were existing new item types are these red ones, and we're not going to move forward with these. New Blu-ray RS was a standalone. There isn't no new DVD restricted. There is a Blu-ray restricted item type, and we'll have people use that instead. Book CD new, there's one in the system. Sorry, two in the system at one library. We don't need an item type for two things. New period, there was one of them. I went back, there was almost nobody ever used this. New book paperback, as of the 1st of April, there weren't any in the system. I went and looked the other day, there's like 6 now, of course. That's how it works. But again, very rarely, if ever used. New book S. Now, I only have data that goes back about 1.5 years on this. I couldn't find anything about 1.5 years. Somebody may have used this at some point. Okay, good. Nobody's been using it lately. And MP3 book new, we added that for some reason. I don't think anybody ever used it, to be honest. And Blu-ray 3D is a new AV. We removed those a couple years ago. So you might think, well, okay, back to the whole holdable thing. Why did you do that? Well, the next page down, for those of you that are curious, I could make it scroll. There we go. So the chart on the right is not meant to be readable. It is just meant as an illustration to give you an idea of this is every hold placed in the system since the 1st of January 2021. So about 15 months worth of holds. At the very top is book, of course, and all you can see is a little bit of black up there, but it's a really big number. That's 441,000 holds for book up at the very top of the list, and that's 53% of all holds are on book. The ones with orange lines here, these are the 20 new item types. Now, there's not 20 things here because not every one of the new item types had a hold during the last 15 months. And this line right here, the red line, is less than 0.1% of our overall holds limit. So everything below that is a very small number of holds, below about 600 or so. New book, book new is our number one by itself at 1.37% of overall holds. And if you combine new book, book new L together, you only get 2.1% of all holds. But boy, that's a noisy 2.1% of the holds. As anybody who's been to a users group meeting for the last 15 years can tell you, that 2.1% of the holds just for new books alone has caused us a lot of grief. New DVDs are less than 1%. New Blu-rays are even smaller, but again, very, very noisy. So when we go back and we say, well, why did you add 2 for new book and 2 for new DVD and 2 for new Blu-ray? We're just trying to fix the problem. But these other ones, there's so few holds placed, there's no point. And then the one last thing, this was the one that surprised me the most when I really dug into it, was how few libraries are actually using book new and new book, or book new L, all three. And I have those listed out, but of all the libraries using any one of those combination of those three, Hudson is the only library that does anything different with them. Everybody else is doing exactly the same thing with these 3 different new book item types. Weathersfield schools, they circulate the same, but they have slightly different hold rules, but I think that's a mistake. I think that's just a leftover from maybe not clean up correctly. But Hudson is definitely circulating and holding new book and book new differently. But that's fine because one of those is a system-wide hold and the other one is local holds, and we have an item type for each one of those. Hey, everything's great. So if we look at this screen, this is, I ran a list. Book new is blue. Book new is green, new book is blue, and there's orange for new book L. And if we roll down here, the ones in yellow are the ones, the 7 that were just shown before. You can see there are quite a few libraries that are using more than one, but most of them, oh, sorry, they're only using one. The 7 that were using 2, only those 2 were the ones that had different options for them. So again, if I'd have run this 3, 4, 5 years ago, this chart would look way different than it does now. So you all fixed the problem. We're just trying to codify it now. All right, so let's go back here. So oops, I need to go one more. So what does this mean to all of you? Well, okay, so here's the fun part, right? This is a big project. We would be asking you to swap what item types you're using. Yes, that's not fun. Then there's the cleanup project to get everything moved over that's existing. That's 2. And then number 3, everything that's older than that 1-year cutoff point needs to be moved off of the new item types and onto different things. So we've broken that out into 2 different projects. The denewing of items, that'll be a separate project. Here's what we're proposing to fix this. Between now and the August users group meeting, it'll take RSA staff that long to touch basically every aspect of the system to add in the new item types. Because you can't start using them until they're ready to check out, they're ready to go out on holds, they're ready to fill notices, they're ready to be billed correctly, they've got the right default prices, they've been added into all of the online catalogs that we have, they've been added to all the reports that we run, lots and lots and lots of things. So it's going to take us the entire summer basically to set this up. Then we have to also, over the summer, we need to run some surveys with you guys to find out what 50% of the libraries are doing system-wide holds. And if you are doing system-wide holds, do you want to continue to do that? Do you want to use the new item types, or do you just want to use book and we can ignore you? And then we need to find out how long your things are new. So there's quite a few things that we have to do before we can tell you all, hey, on the, let's just pick a date out of the air, the 15th of August, y'all can start, when you catalog new items, please use the new item types, right? And when that happened, then whatever day that was, then RSA staff would go back through workflows, and for every library in workflows, we would have to take out all the old item types from your menus so that you can't use them anymore. There's a lot of pieces to this. But the important part is things would be ready for you in August. Then you would start using them. RSA staff would work with you if you have lots of items that need to be moved. We don't know what to do with them, but we will help you bulk move them. Or for some libraries that don't have that many new items, you could do them yourself. I've had people say that they'd rather do it themselves than get us involved, and that's fine. But basically we run a list, we send it to you, you tell us what to do with them, we bulk move them, everybody's happy, we hope. So that's where we're at with this. Do we have any questions about the new item types, or how they would work, or what that would mean for your library? Essentially, we want to make things easier for you. Nick.
I know you talked earlier
has there been any solutions for what happens if we put books were on order, books in the system up to 6 months early?
So that's the, yeah.
In a year.
Nick's question is on orders, and that was one of the other things that we need to do over the summer is codify how on orders are done. Because basically we need to know what signifies an on order, not like we think this is an on order, but no, this is an on order and it needs to be excluded from the reports. So I would love to be able to say that everybody does on orders the same way. I would love to be able to say that. Maybe we will tell you how to do on orders, and that will help. There'll probably end up being a couple of ways. We just need to know exactly what we're looking for so that we can exclude them. All right. So in some libraries, it might be that's the call number. It might be a location. What are our other options there, Erica?
Usually you can tell based off of the on-order home location.
Home location.
I know some
Item type.
Like the book new item type to on-orders, but we'll look at a list to make sure.
Yeah.
But it seems like between the home location, the item type, that one of those is typically on order, if not both.
Yeah.
Well, maybe after we receive the item, it's been our collection for us. Didn't know that was on order, right? When you're running, it's for moving it off.
Correct. But we cannot. Okay. So this is the other thing. The question was, well, that basically regarded has it been in the collection for a year or not, right? We can't automatically move anybody's items from a new item to a regular item because we don't know what regular items you're using and we don't know what home locations you're using, right? So if we went through and just said everything that's new book is going to be book, I mean, I could write a report that would do that, but it would make no one happy. It would break everybody. So we don't want to do that. Part of the cleanup is going to be, we have done a bad job, much like of telling you that your patrons have turned 18 and maybe you might want to do something about that. Again, for the libraries that have asked for the reports of how old are my materials so that they can change them, those libraries are getting those reports, but we have not done it for everyone. So, and again, from my standpoint, I'm concerned with things that got to be a year old or older, because now you're gumming up the system with, 5-year-old new things that are blocking holds, right? So we would be most focused on it's a year old, but if your library does everything at 6 months, then your reports would be set up to report to you at 6 months. At that point, you could take the report and go, all right, I'm just going to cut and paste and change all these over to book. Or I'm going to cross a couple off and send it back to James, and James will do a bulk move for you if there's a couple hundred of them. And then you would be able to go, oh, that thing wasn't on order, right? So I know this has not been around that long. And whether you do that with a staff note or whatever, I don't know what your process is. So I don't know how you know something wasn't on order and is not. If you all did everything the same way, and we had book, DVD, Blu-ray, and other, then yes, I could do automatic changes, but we don't. So I can't. Although I will tell you, if that's how we did things, none of these would be problems. Because then, oh, no holds. Okay, nobody gets holds. And there are a lot of consortia that do that. Something that was added to the system for the first 6 weeks, it's not holdable, period. And then at 6 weeks, now everybody can have it. Have a nice day. But that's those were decisions made when systems were set up to be that standardized. Online people, I have not been monitoring chat very closely. Did anybody online have any questions about any of this?
I think just the comment there from Sharon.
We run blue cloud reports regularly, which shows a trend for lost new items, which have not been. Yes, so when we do, Sharon, when we do the reports, Sharon's question is what happens if it's lost or damaged or missing? We would leave those alone. We wouldn't change anything that's in any of those particular categories, but those are easy to just chop off of that list that we're running. So thankfully that's kind of why we need to know how you do on order. So when you know something is on order is so that we can exclude it, but lost, damaged, missing, claims returned, whatever. Those are things that are easy to filter out of reports. All right. No questions, it looks like.
I don't know whether to be very, very proud and happy of us or to be kind of suspicious that if this goes ahead with a vote, then 3-4 months from now, everyone's going to be pissed off when y'all had multiple opportunities to ask questions. Any concerns?
I move we accept the standardized new material types as presented.
Thank
I
you for that
second.
motion.
I
And
second.
we've got a second from Richard.
Lexi says we've been talking about it for a year.
Thank you, Lexi.
If you haven't asked by now, it's too late.
Thank you, Lexi, for that. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Are there any more questions? Because we are going to take this vote momentarily. Hearing no questions, I am going to call for a vote.
No, we can just do an aye and a nay
Okay.
vote.
For everyone present and online who would like to vote to approve the new item types as presented by Kendall and the Rails staff, please say or type aye. Anyone who would like to vote nay, please do so typing or verbally. I hear no nays, and so this passes, folks. Many congratulations to us and a big, huge thank you to Kendall and the RSA staff, because as Kendall has been saying, this has been a problem since 2008. I don't have to remind you folks, but finding the solution to the problem, that's really quite impressive. And so thank you, finding the solution to the problem.
And if it doesn't work, don't yell at me.
Oh, can't promise.
No, you can yell at me. That's
Can't
fine.
promise. Okay, what is, are we moving on to the
Oh.
old new item cleanup project, Kendall?
Yes, we will. Oops, sorry, I went one too far. We'll do that. So I partially mentioned this. So there's two ways we can handle this. For some of you, when we're talking to you about bulk converting your new items from off the old new item types to the standardized new item types, you may also say, hey, can you move anything that's older than 6 months off of these and just make them books or just make them DVDs or DVDJs or whatever? And yes, we can do that for you. So some of you, we will do the cleanup for the old new items as we're doing the bulk changes. For the rest of you, when we're done with all of the bulk changes onto the new item types, we're going to have a list of 20 old item types we're no longer using, and those items are going to stick out like a sore thumb. And then we're going to track everybody down and say, what do you want us to do with these things? And we will move them off at that point. I have a feeling that about half of the issue will be fixed during the cleanup process, because it will just naturally flow out of that. Hey, if I've got something marked as book new L and it's older than 6 months, just make it a book, or just make it this, or here, make these this and this other group that. That'll fix most of it, but there'll still be some left at the end that we'll need to clean up. But the old new cleanup will be, it may be this year, maybe it's early next year, maybe it's next summer. When we get to it, we'll get to it. But that's the last step before we can take all those old item types out of the system.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions and concerns about that process, which, as Kendall just explained, is not going to start next week? That's going to be a bit further off incoming.
August with the rest of it.
Okay, hearing no questions or concerns, let's move on to lucky section 13. Let's talk about RSA administrivia.
All right. I like to point out, well, whenever an RSA person has their annual anniversary, and Erica has been here for 13 years. Yay!
She's a teenager now.
We stole her from Morton, where she was working for free. Well, didn't you work for free? Yeah, that was her part of her college thing. So yeah, and I said this during the board meeting too, that it doesn't feel like 13 years. And then I'm thinking, oh wait, I've been here a lot longer than that. So yeah, we're getting old. Just a quick reminder about delivery labels. Robert sent a thing out in to the delivery listservs. I don't know if y'all get those emails or not. Hopefully you do. Woohoo!
This is years in coming.
Yeah. So he sent a thing out. I took that same thing that he sent out and put it in the package because different people see this. So there might be ILL people who will see it here. So I'm not going to talk about it here, other than to say this one thing, that this summer they are doing route changes in the East Peoria hub to make things better. I don't know exactly what those route changes are. I'm not sure they know exactly what the route changes are, but they have been working with the, well, it used to be SIU, but they I think spun that company off. It's a mapping company that does logistics. They look at routes and they tell you how to run your routes. And they figured out how to cut some ungodly number of miles out of the routes. But one of the byproducts of that is going to be that in the upper right-hand corner of each delivery label, you are currently writing for East Peoria things, you're writing XEP and then the route number, right? So XEP 3 or XEP 5 or whatever route that library's on. And you should be looking those route numbers up as you fill out the form, if you're following directions. So the route number is going to change. It's going to go from being the route number to the library number. So when that change happens, we will update our list on the RSA website that has all of the RSA libraries on it and the route number. We will update the route number to the library number. So instead of XEP 01, you would write XEP 123, and that would be the library number. Yes. But this is in conjunction with all those changes that they're making to delivery. And it should make sorting, I say should, it should make sorting more accurate because it's a lot easier to read a 3-digit code than some of y'all's handwriting. And I'm sorry, I have sorted. There were times I looked at a label and went, I have no idea what this says. And then I would go open workflows and type the barcode in, but delivery people can't do that. So this will actually make it quicker for delivery people to sort because they can just look at that number and know where in the pods that we have those things go. And they're also talking about redoing, I don't know if you saw pictures or whatever, but in the new building, they built these pods and their own routes, and that's all going to be resorted too. So it should make it a little more, assuming people are looking the libraries up, it should make it more accurate.
So we will not have to write down the name of the library?
Oh God, no, you still have to do that. But hopefully you are, well, and also, but the library number is where it gets delivered at. It's not necessarily where it stops. So if it's a Peoria building, Peoria all has one number, but you still have to write the branch that it goes to. So anyway, I am not a delivery person. RSA does not run delivery. Thank God. We are not delivery. I am just the bearer of good news. So take that for what you will. Just basically be on the lookout. There will be more email come out this summer. We will probably repost that email to our listserv just so that more eyes see it. So.
I understand that from him. I didn't necessarily see all of this.
Yeah, it was in there.
Was it all this? I didn't see.
Well, okay. This bit right here, that was not in there. No. No, I specifically because I know about this, and I said, would it be a good idea if I just maybe gave people a heads up that there's going to be this change coming? And he was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
We did these things, I saw the CDP thing. What is this? I saw the no rubber bands.
You can use rubber bands.
No, don't use two of them, no. You are not allowed to use rubber bands unless your thing is not safe.
There. One of the biggest issues with the rubber bands is that people put the sticky label, then they put the rubber band, then they put the rubber band the other way, and then they put tape, not on the label. So the rubber band is taped to the label. They put the rubber band tape onto the book, and then people rip the cover of the book off. Yeah.
So I would like to reiterate that if anyone really has problems, whether you are confused with the instructions on the second page, by the way, of this like packet from Robert / through Kendall, there's actually some description right here on how to use rubber bands. If you are confused, if you are hearing different instructions from different individuals, if you see something come into your library through delivery that you're like, okay, I know this is wrong. I know this is wrong. Then here's what you do. You send in a ticket to ideally the help desk for delivery or to Robert himself.
Not the RSA help desk.
Not the RSA help desk. Thank you, Kendall. The delivery help desk. Because this is how Robert hears that we are confused, we need more clarification, or that other people are doing it wrong. And it's okay to tattle because those other people will never learn how to do the right thing unless someone tells them that they're doing the wrong thing. If you really, really don't want to get tattled on, then go be perfect. And I don't think that's possible. No offense, anyone. Everyone's going to do something wrong eventually. Okay, folks, really, are there concerns that you want to voice, or we having fun chit-chatting?
Is there a timeline for when that new printed list will come out, like when this code changes happening?
I think the question was, is there a timeline on when this new printed list and code change? I think that was mentioned by Kendall that it'll be sometime this summer.
Summer is all I know. I don't think they have an exact time yet either.
So thank you again, Kendall. And a last reminder to please contact the delivery help desk or Robert Morgan directly with questions and concerns.
I always hesitate to mention delivery because it kind of muddies the water on who runs it, but I wanted to give you all a heads up on that. Another heads up thing, those of you that have staff ordering things, please instruct your staff to act like patrons and actually pick up your items and check them out in workflows. There has been a rash of people complaining to me personally in my inbox about holds that they sent out that got cleaned from the hold shelf, but never came back. And then when they contact the library, they find out, well, it went to a staff member who just took it home and is reading it and never checked the thing out. Staff should know better than this. I'm putting it in here because I'm hearing about it. And if I'm hearing about it, it's an issue. So please just remind your staff, act like a patron, check things out to yourself, and then return them. Don't check them out for 6 months. Just check them out and do it and return them.
That's not how patrons are.
I know.
Thank
Let
you.
me rephrase. Act like good patrons.
Don't check out your personal.
And for those of us,
Never do card, please. I would hear about it.
Thank you, Anna. For those of us here in the room, I'd like to tell you that on the chat, we got an amen. So thank you from the amen corner.
And other staff, other library staff asking for special treatment when they damage materials as well. No, who would ever do that? Okay. Just a heads up, we are currently voluntarily working in the office. I'm trying to get us moved back to 2 days a week into the office. Again, serendipity is a wonderful thing. Between synergy and serendipity, having people in the office just a couple days a week will help us out a lot. We're looking into that. Rails is opening up conference room stuff and talking about having a lot more in-person type meetings. I think we're now officially allowed to hold 12 to 15 people in our conference room in East Peoria. Parking might be fun, but we have that much space in the conference room. And I know they are starting to book things in those conference rooms. So if you are just itching for some in-person training, there might be some coming. I don't know for sure, but I know there were several events this month. A lot of them were board type things, but a lot more than there have been. And I know they're working out. They were asking me specifically about, well, how many parking spots do you have? And how many seats do you have? And what are your amenities like? So I think they're planning on rolling out a lot more things. So hopefully we might get to see a couple of people in the building, which would be fun for us. We do appreciate that.
We came to visit you.
You did. And you got a whole tour.
Tour. All you gotta do is ask.
So it's it's not a very long tour. There's one long hallway, and once you're at the end of that, the tour is pretty much done. All right, moving on. Strategical plan updates. Oh, we're getting towards the end here. Great. All right, so we have 3 pillars in our strategic plan. Member engagement is one. Under that thing, May and August, we're going to try to resume doing these hybrid meetings. We need to work on microphones because sound has not been good today. I'm sorry, those of you out there, we will work on that in the future. We are going to be looking around for an August host. We're thinking somewhere in the Normal area if we can get it, just because we have not been there for many, many, many years. Not that we've done anything in person the last 2 years, but we have not been on that side of the RSA membership. Oh goodness, 7 or 8 years now, I think. So we'd like to have one over there. The November and February meetings, we will continue to be completely Zoom. Weather, and also we're all used to Zoom now, so we will continue to do the November and February meetings on Zoom. Ideally, we'd like to do the hybrid meetings in a member library every time, because as I mentioned, we can only get 12 people in our conference room in East Peoria, and that would make for a very small meeting. We are still working on the new support site. That is coming along. We'll probably be asking, I know there's going to be a website committee meeting soon. You are all welcome to attend that. We're currently loading the member services material on the website, checking layout. Then we're going to be asking you, what do you think? Does this help? Does this work? How does that go? Probably starting this fall, we'll be looking back into offsite training. And again, for offsite training, we prefer to do that in member libraries. The whole point of this is to get out to see you guys and be closer to you to make it easier to do training. But to do that, we need a library host. We need at least 3 staff members from 2 different libraries. Otherwise, it's really not worth our time to come out and see you. So the more people, the better. But there'll probably be some email coming out this summer saying, hey, who wants to host a training? If you do, or if you have several staff members at a couple of libraries in the area that need, a specific training, we'll try and work with you. We'll continue to do Zoom training as well. So we've talked about almost everything on here, except for the bottom one. And again, that's a budget thing for FY24. We've got a lot of new costs due to Rails stopping the in-kind freeness that they've been giving us for many years. Just something for me to lose more hair about. Again, we're still working towards staff independence in a couple of years. We did fill our cataloging coordinator position. We upgraded that position, then we filled it. I don't see any new permanent positions coming. It's kind of unaffordable at this point. We may end up hiring somebody temporarily to help us out with a specific thing, staff independence, for example. But I don't see anything permanent coming along. Back to school session dates will be out soon once we figure out what that date is. Looking at Anna, we don't know what the date is yet. So, but we want to get that date out before the end of the school year, because once the school staff go home for the summer, it's hard to get a hold of them. And we continue to update the system when the system is updatable. Your turn.
Okay, thank you very much. So some topics for discussion. I always like to hear what's being done that's super awesome in everyone's libraries. So who would like to brag on themselves, or who would like to brag on an awesome member library who's been super helpful to you? Has anyone been awesome? Because I really know that they have. Okay, for the record, Courtney is awesome all the time. She just doesn't want to talk about it now. I guess I'll mention that some of you are already aware of this in the discussion for the small group that is like it's actually within RSA and it bleeds over to Prairie Cat, the Rural Directors Group. That group met a couple weeks ago, and from that meeting, I decided to create a library directors book club. And so the email went out to folks. And so some of you have already joined it. Thank you very much. If anyone is interested in possibly joining that, then send me a message. It's going to be interesting. It's a book club for library directors. And so we'll be reading some leadership type books to try to better our minds and be good people. We've got a message in the chat from Kathy. I'm going to read that. The Tri-County Directors Group are setting up a Beyond the Beaten Path library crawl with trivia questions at each of our libraries, and this is for adults too. The hope is that they will visit some of the 16 libraries in their group. And this is from the Tri-County Directors Group. Kathy, I think that is a great idea. Many congratulations to you and the others in your group. Who else wants to share? I will go ahead and, even though it was mentioned earlier, I will say a huge kudos to Alyssa, Anna, and everyone with the RSA Day. Many congratulations to that. So Galesburg is almost to their full funding goal for their new library. They have already started to begin construction as best as they could with all of this fun wet weather. So many congratulations to Galesburg. Thank you for mentioning that, Ariel. And more kudos are coming into the chat for the Tri-County Directors Group and everything that they're doing. Okay, so we do keep in mind that I'm always happy to hear about awesome library things. So please remember that for our August meeting, especially by the time we meet in August, we all have awesome things to brag about for our summer reading program. First and foremost, that we survived it. Come on, you guys know what I'm talking about. The Chatsworth Library will be part of a Fairbury Chatsworth site for the Smithsonian Traveling Exhibit. Thank you very much, Mary, for mentioning that. That is very cool. Mary, feel free to send emails out to everyone when that exhibit is set up. I'm sure we would like to see photos of that. That is great. Okay, so we are going to move on. Okay, Lexi, I'm sorry. The last thing that we'll share is that Lexi is very excited about this year's summer reading program theme. And she says that she pitched it to iRead and it finally got approved. So very good, Lexi. Thank you for the recommendation. It's very good. It's better than others that they've had. I'll say that. Better than others. So thank you, Lexi. Okay, as Kendall mentioned a couple minutes ago, our next users group meeting is going to be the 4th of August. I sincerely hope everyone has that on your calendar. Put it on your calendar. The only person who's not allowed to put it on her calendar is Barbara. And
You're welcome.
Melody. Yes.
From Galva.
And yes, and Pat from Galva. Okay, those are the only people who are not allowed to put it on their calendar. Everyone else, it should be on your calendar. As was mentioned earlier, if you are in possession of a room that will fit 40-ish people, 30-ish to 40-ish people, it would be great if you're in the greater Normal area, but we won't hold that against you. Really, reach out to the RSA help desk. Reach out to me if you forget about RSA help desk, and we'll start talking about that, but we would really appreciate some locations. And then also put the 2nd of November on your calendar. And right now the plan is to have that Zoom only. If that changes, of course, we will let you know. But of course, we have no idea what health crisis will bring. And also it's easier to just not drive in the cold weather. It's easier. So maybe Zoom only. Who has any questions, concerns, or complaints? I will only hear a very few complaints. So get in now before they take your spot.
Hi, Laura, I have a question.
We have people on chat who are excited. Thank you, people on chat.
Laura, this is Jenny from Market Heights. Can you hear me?
We've seen an uprise of counterfeit DVDs in the system.
Interesting. So Nick is sharing that he has seen an uptick in counterfeit DVDs. In what way?
Well, the TV shows have never released DVDs, and there are DVDs in our system. Ozarks is a big one. I just recently saw Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2. Also, never been released, but you can buy them on Amazon if you're not paying attention. The Ozark one of the Ozark ones is fun because when you look at the back of the DVD, at the bottom where it's like, visit our website, www.walkingdead.com. So they didn't even fix the whole browser if you look carefully on that. We got burned a few years ago with Stranger Things, one of the Stranger Things seasons. They got a bunch of us following when they were released, not realizing they hadn't officially released yet. But I've noticed we've just seen them coming in a lot more, and our agents are like yelling at us for not buying Ozarks. I'm like, well, it was never released, these shouldn't exist. So I didn't know if anybody else has been noticing that or what the best way to handle that.
That's actually a question that I'm going to throw to Kendall and Erica, because are there existing policies for counterfeit items in our database?
Yes, we do. In fact, this body approved one. If you send them to us to be cataloged, we will not, and we will ask you how you would like us to get rid of it. We'll send it back to you, or we'll throw it away for you, one of the two. So I have a feeling what's happening here is that they're getting in and we're not the ones cataloging it. And, you know, we don't check everything that's added to the system, so.
And I appreciate, Nick, your comments that these are actually, these DVDs are available from a major retailer like Amazon. Now, clearly this is like a third party using the Amazon platform, but I agree, it's sometimes difficult to tell that when you're just browsing through Amazon, it's difficult to tell that it's a third party just using that platform. So, so it's very likely that some folks are doing this unintentionally, but it still comes down to it's a counterfeit item. So thank you, Nick, for that. I did, let's see here. Jenny had a question.
Yeah,
Was
but
that?
The question has been added to the chat. So we're good.
Oh, okay.
there you go.
Jenny, thank you so much for asking. Jenny types, everyone, Laura was nominated for a Woman to Woman Leadership Award. And I was wondering if she'd heard anything about it. Yes, I have. I didn't get it.
Oh,
Thank you, Jenny. Jenny sent in a nomination for me. Jenny, I really appreciate your time and effort. That's where I was, everyone. I wasn't just getting, you know, like a better lunch or something. I was kind of getting a worse lunch. And so that was the banquet that I was at. And no, I didn't get it. But thank you, Jenny, for asking that question. So again, and thank you, Nick, for bringing this up. I will mention that to my search staff. So in,
is that the counterfeit thing?
okay, so that's like the Ozark and Mandalorian.
One other thing I'll mention, and this just came to mind, but recently the McComb Library reported to us that there's a company called Loving the Classics, I think is what it's called. We haven't actually gotten physically one of these items, but McComb sent us a couple screen captures, and it looks like somebody almost like tweaked it off of Turner Classic Movies. So just be on the lookout if you get anything that's called something like Loving the Classics. That could be questionable, but again, we haven't actually physically got one of those items yet to look at it.
Thank you, Erica, for that. And so this is a DVD that is like the production company might say, Loving the Classics. Okay. Oh, good grief.
They broadcast it over TV. It must be okay to record it.
Okay, as always, if there are concerns from folks between now and the next users group meeting, please, it doesn't cost you any money to send a quick email to RSA. Even if the email is, hey, this looks weird. Should it look weird to me? And RSA will answer that for you. No, it shouldn't. Okay.
Or
What's up?
we have a whole form in case you have a question for a discussion or something like that.
Thank
for
you
users
so
group.
much, Kendall. For those of us here in the room and for those of us on Zoom, you are seeing that Kendall has shared with you that there is a whole form on the homepage of the RSA website to, thank you again, Kendall, suggest a discussion topic for users group. And it could be anything under the sun. Make any suggestion. Okay, it is 2:59 and I am calling a halt to this meeting. Calling it closed. Adjournment, 2:59.